Coming up on iOS today, it is time to take a look back at the year and the best moments of 2021 on our show. Stay tuned.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This episode of iOS Today is brought to you by Imperfect Foods. Imperfect Foods is catching the food that's falling through the cracks of our food system by sourcing quirky yet delicious foods. Right now, Imperfect Foods is offering our listeners 20% off your first 4 orders when you go to imperfectfoods.com and use promo code iOS. Welcome! I'm so glad you could make it to this, the very special end of year episode for iOS Today. This is the episode where we get a chance to look back at the year and see what we've accomplished, to see what were the best moments of iOS Today. And folks, it starts out with easily the best moment of this year. I got a chance to welcome Rosemary Orchard to the show as my co-host. And I can imagine you all agree that Rosemary Orchard joining iOS Today is one of the best things that's happened. She's fantastic. Take a look. Welcome to a new year of iOS Today. I am one of your hosts, Mikah Sargent, and yes, things have changed. We did announce it in the outgoing of the past year. I am joined by former guest and now my co-host. It's Rosemary Orchard. Welcome officially to the show, Rosemary.
Thank you very much. I am super excited to be here. This is going to be so much fun, Mikah.
I am pumped. Like I said to you, I think personally, and I said to some of my fellow colleagues here at Twit, one of the things that's always been so fun is that you come up with these apps that I'd never heard of or only heard of in passing, and you show me these cool things that you can do. And so I'm really excited for you to get to do that for all of our listeners and viewers out there who already love iOS, but we're going to take things, even further with the understanding that you have for sure. So I'm looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to it too. There's so much that I've learned from this show. It was one of the first podcasts that I listened to back when it was called, when it was the iPad show. So I'm really glad to actually be part of that now.
Yay. Ian writes, I'm interested to know which app you're using to mirror the iPad on your screen. Is it Reflector or something else? Well, I've never heard of Reflector, so it's definitely not Reflector, but now I'm going to have to check out Reflector. But if we cut to Rosemary, I actually asked her today to use the free version or the trial version of this app because it has the watermark in the top right corner. And the reason why is because we get this question so very often, that I wanted to have it be there for most of the episodes. So even if a person doesn't listen all the way to the end where we're answering these questions, they can know. Go to ecamm.live, ECAMM.live, and you can check out Ecamm Live, which is the application that I've been using for quite a while now, ever since the pandemic. Staying at home, I've been using Ecamm Live to do the switching and stuff like that for my devices. So it's got iPad. You can show your iPad on screen. You can show your iPhone on screen. It's got cool technology too with Skype, where it kind of works as a switcher. Folks use Ecamm, like the main use of Ecamm Live is actually for streaming online. So think about like gamers and stuff like that, Twitch people, all that, or folks who are doing tutorials or showing, Photoshop work that they're doing. But Ecamm has a plugin called Virtual Webcam that basically tricks your computer into thinking that whatever it has set up is a webcam. And so I can go into Skype and choose Ecamm as my webcam option and then use Ecamm's different stuffs to pull that up. So Ian, to answer your question, it is Ecamm Live. You can go to ecamm.live to get that. And to everyone else who asks almost every week, I love you. It is Ecamm Live. You can check it out there. That's it. I am very excited about potential, well, most likely a change that we'll see in the final version of iOS 14.5, excuse me, I was just coughing, which is going to allow you to use your Apple Watch to unlock your iPhone when you're wearing a mask. So this functionality, if you have a phone that does Face ID, you may have been frustrated with the fact that while you're wearing a mask, if you try to unlock your iPhone, it at first would just sort of error out. I think about 3 times, if I remember correctly. And then it would show you the prompt to type in your password. Apple updated that so that when you looked at your phone, if it recognized that you were wearing a mask, then it would automatically just right there prompt you for your password. Now, as a person who covers tech and is therefore kind of just the stand-in for the proxy for all tech frustration, when family and friends were bothered by this, then they usually would complain to me. And so that on its own was kind of like, I understand this is a frustration for you and it does suck, and hopefully there'll be some improvements. But that goes a step further or farther when your partner works in a public-facing job, when they work in a job where they interact with the public. And my partner does, and he, of course, because now for some reason, if you work in a job where you interact with the public, not only are you doing your job that you signed up for, but you are also becoming a person wrangler who has to tell people, please wear your mask and please, don't stay in this part. You need to stay outside. All those things. You become a public health inspector as well, which is ridiculous. But that becomes part of their job. And so for him, the most frustrating thing was not that he himself couldn't unlock his phone with his Face ID. It was that customers, when they were unlocking their phones with Face ID, would take their mask off to do so. And so they, time and time again, were removing their masks and potentially risking everyone else around them by doing so. And so that was something that, I certainly had. There was more empathy there than there was with just the base frustration. There was already plenty, I had plenty of understanding for that, but this goes a step farther because that's so much more troublesome. And whenever you have to say, I'm sorry, but you can't use Face ID to unlock your phone. We need you to wear your mask while you're indoors. That's a requirement of our, business. So he, more than anyone I've talked to, was really excited to hear about this change coming to iOS. And it was interesting because he had some questions about it as well that I hadn't considered, including what happens if I'm wearing my Apple Watch and I'm across the room and someone picks up my phone wearing a mask. Is it going to unlock the phone? And so I ended up kind of showing him how it worked and what it did. And Rosemary, you are going to show us here on the show how this works.
Okay, so step 1, a mask. This is a Uniqlo Aerism mask for anybody curious, because if I don't say, we will have questions.
Yes.
So, all right, I've got this on. So my face is covered, and I'm just going to switch to showing my iPhone. And now if I swipe up to unlock, it says it's unlocking with the Apple Watch. And it actually does say that it's unlocking, but my video appears to have frozen. There we go. Wonderful. And that's a question that we've got maybe for next week on the show. But it has just unlocked. And that is working extremely well for me. I'm really impressed with it. I've been using it for a couple of days. It just works. You do need to set it up. And that's something that you'll do in the settings. But I'm hoping by the time iOS 14.5 launches that there will be a prompt in there to enable that if your watch is up to date or once your watch updates.
Yes,
because that's something you just change in the
prompt.
Settings. Yeah, exactly. I'm pretty certain there will be a prompt, but you will need to be running the latest version of watchOS and the latest version of iOS. That's iOS 14.5 and watchOS, I believe, 7.5 as well. In order for that to work. And that means that some of the older Apple Watches will not support this feature. But what I found really interesting about this, John Gruber on Daring Fireball wrote a little bit about it, is essentially when you unlock your phone with Face ID, if your Apple Watch is on your wrist, but it's not locked at that point, it unlocks it. And it was set up so that the phone could say to the watch, hey, you're good to go now. But it was never set up so that it could do it both ways. It was set up as a one-way path. And so they had to re-engineer it so that it could go in both directions. Because, of course, it would be a bit of a security flaw if you can unlock your phone with your Apple Watch and but your Apple Watch is locked and things like that. So I see why it took them quite a while. And I know for a lot of people, it seems very obvious. Surely I have an Apple Watch, it can unlock my Mac. Why can't it unlock my iPhone? It's these things are never that simple. But I'm really pleased to see that the engineers have got this and it works so well. I'm so impressed, and it makes shopping so much easier because I use the app for the grocery store, so I can scan the things as I go around and add them to my basket, and then I just scan a barcode at the checkout. It transfers the data. I pay with Apple Pay. Everything's already bagged in the trolley, and I'm gone. Wow. And that app does not, for some reason, support. It insists on locking my screen frequently. It's very annoying. But if I lock my phone, it doesn't lock the app. So now I have a way better chance of that actually working all the way around the grocery store. So I am very, very pleased that this is here. And I'm sure everybody I know that's got an Apple Watch will be pleased. And I think some people that don't have an Apple Watch might now go, you know what? Actually, I can see the use case for this. And there are so many more uses for the Apple Watch than just unlocking your iPhone.
Yeah,
this
exactly.
Is great.
So with that, a couple of things that I wanted to note, when you do that Face ID while you're wearing your mask, the Taptic engine in the Apple Watch will bzz on your wrist to let you know that it's happening and give you a notification. And to answer that question that my partner had, where he was like, okay, but what if somebody else picks up your phone? First of all, there's proximity magic involved. So your watch has to be within a certain distance of the phone when that happens. But also, when you get that notification with the buzz on your wrist, the notification that says your watch is being unlocked has a button underneath it that says lock iPhone. And so if you look over and your phone's sitting there and somebody's picked up your phone messing around and has unlocked it, you hit that lock iPhone button and your phone will lock automatically. And then your password will be required to enter into the phone at that point. So it's got those security features in place, but that's also why it's in beta right now, so that we can continue to see changes that need to be made to make sure that it's secure. And folks out there who want to get early access to this, it just got rolled out into the public beta. So you can also download and get it and give it a try if you want to.
Yeah. That's watchOS 7.4 and iOS 14.5. And both of those are in public beta right now. But of course, it's a beta, at your own risk, or wait a couple of weeks and hopefully Apple will roll that out to everybody. Well, the one I'm going to talk about for anybody who hasn't guessed it is Widgetsmith. Now, Widgetsmith is a free app to download with an optional in-app purchase of, I think it's $1.99 a month. And it allows you to create widgets. So it's not about just put this widget from this app here. It's about creating widgets. So this calendar that I've got here that says Friday, March 19th, record iOS today, 18 to 20. That's 24-hour time, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. is a widget. And when I tap on it, it opens Widgetsmith. And as you can see, I've done some playing around in here to create widgets. And so what you do, I'm going to go ahead and I think I'll create a medium widget right here. So first of all, Widgetsmith isn't just a widget and your widget always looks like this. You can actually add timed widgets, which means that say between 6 p.m. and 8 a.m., you have one kind of widget show, and then, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., you have another kind of widget. So you have a work widget versus a personal widget, and it's the same widget. So it only occupies one spot and one slot, but it, shows different information. But then you can go ahead and select different things. Now, personally, for people who are there going, the time, I could have the time in really big numbers, I would just add a note of caution in that Apple updates widgets when they feel like they have the battery level to do so and it's worth doing, which means sometimes widgets update super quickly. Sometimes they don't. So you might find things like the time end up drifting off. And that's the case in any widget application. That's not Widgetsmith's fault. So fuzzy time is great for things like that. And so are things like the sum path. but there are lots of options. So you can do like date options. I love those. You can select photos and overlay them with things like the current date. So you've got utility combined with something fun, and there's step counting built in. You've got health and activity options. You've even got weather options, which are great. And then you've got, upcoming events combined with a calendar and things like that, or just pulling out your reminders. Or if you live near the beach, a tide graph that could be really useful so that you know when it's safe to go for a walk on the beach. And there's also things like a star field. But I'm just going to go back up and I'm going to select the custom text, which is your text here. And then the next section, and this is one of the reasons why I really love this, is you can select a theme. Okay, so there's seasonal ones, like there's a couple of heart ones and some snow ones for Valentine's Day and Christmas and winter, I presume. And then there's some general ones where you can just, have candy, which is bright pink with bright green text on it. I'm not sure I would personally pick that one, but I'm sure somebody loves it. There's daring, which is gray with white text on. And there's lights and leaves and neon and night vision and pumpkins and scrapbook. And one of my favorites, 6 colors, which is the original 6 colors of the Apple logo back when it was really, colorful. But you can also customize a theme. And you can specify, a particular text. So if you want a particular text, like you could use noteworthy or chalk duster or typewriter, copperplate, things like that. You can specify a tint color. So that's the color that's applied to anything that can change. Like, this purple. I love purple. You can change a background color. So I can hopefully select this pastel purple, which should, if I do this right, match my background. And you can also choose an artwork color. Now, this one doesn't really apply quite so much here because I'm using the 6 colors theme. But you could change other things as well, and you can change the actual artwork. And I'll just tap save there. And now I just need to insert some text. So I'm just going to put hello iOS today. Oops. And autocorrect did not quite help me there. I'll just rename this one to hello and tap save. So I've created the widget here. Now I will pop into edit mode, remove that drafts widget, and then scroll down to find Widgetsmith. Now, there are only 3 kinds of widgets that you can add here. So you select whichever size it is that you've created. That was a medium one. And then it should automatically jump to the latest one that you have created. Now, as you can see, this pastel purple doesn't quite match my background. But if we look at that rainbow, that does indeed match the rainbow of my background. And this can be really lovely for, again, things like sticky notes that you want, just like little, personal motivational things, but also things like showing photos of your loved ones, or, your pets who are hopefully also your loved ones, or your calendar or reminders or the weather. And I actually have a large widget, which I'm just going to go ahead and add right here. And that shows me, so I've got this calendar option, but I believe it was large 4. Nope. This is my problem. I don't actually rename all of these properly. There we go. Where I can actually see all of the time zones of the people I work with. So Mikah, you are actually in under David's time zone because I was working with David before I was working with you. So I should probably rename that to West Coast or something like that. But this shows me a calendar, so I know where I am in the month. And it also shows me times, for myself and also for other people who I work with. So if I want to message somebody, then if I message them at 8 o'clock in the morning, my time, I'll be well aware that they are fast asleep, their phones are in do not disturb, and they will not see my message until hopefully much, much later. And I really like that because this genuinely gives me utility, which I need, and it makes my life much easier and, of course, prettier.
Absolutely. Yeah, I really, I think it's incredible how much is available in that app, and particularly with the timed widgets. I mean, you can go all out at that point to add on all sorts of things. You talked about your work setup and your home setup. You've got your day phone and your night phone. Each of those can have different widgets based on what you want, and adding photos to your home screen, so it almost becomes like the old school, what was it, dashboard on the Mac. Yeah, just all of that is so nice, and just that customization that's available there. And underscore David Smith, the developer of the app, continues to iterate and improve and update as folks have more suggestions or requests and bug fixes and all that kind of stuff. The app gets updated pretty regularly, so it's kind of incredible what all you can do with Widgetsmith. And then there are lots of other apps that the developer has created that also offer so much customization. So it's pretty cool if you want to go around and tool things in exactly as you want them. Then you can do that using Widgetsmith.
All right, we will get back to the best ofs in just a moment, but I do want to take a quick break to tell you about Imperfect Foods, who are bringing you this episode of iOS Today. Every day, delicious groceries fall through the cracks of our food system simply because of how they look. Imperfect Foods is turning this around by sourcing quirky yet delicious foods and delivering them to you in a way proven to reduce emissions. What if getting your favorite groceries put time back into your week instead of actually taking it away? With the weather getting colder outside, you can stay cozy inside and let Imperfect Foods deliver you intentionally sourced groceries with just a few clicks. Imperfect Foods is a grocery delivery service that's offering an entire line of sustainable groceries that taste delicious and reduce waste. Did you know that in the last year, 35% of the food supply went unsold or uneaten in the US? 35%! Visit imperfectfoods.com to see if they deliver in your area. Once you sign up, you can personalize your weekly grocery order with fresh seasonal produce, pantry staples, and yummy snacks. Plus, your order will arrive on the same day each week. Now, on average, Imperfect Food customers save 6 to 8 pounds of food with every order. And unlike on-demand delivery companies, I love this, Imperfect delivers weekly by neighborhood, which is a unique model that produces 25 to 75% fewer emissions than individual trips to the grocery store. Plus, another thing I love, you can say goodbye to that packaging guilt you have because Imperfect Foods is the only national grocery delivery company that makes it easy to return your packaging after every order. Folks, I ordered some delicious tasty treats from Imperfect Foods. I was so pumped. I got the notification, hey, it's time to pick out the stuff that you want. We've got some items for you. You can make some adjustments. I hopped in. Pretty much everything that was in there was what I wanted. I think I made one change, and they said your food's going to come on Thursday. And, Thursday every week. So I got a notification on the day of, and it said, your order's out for delivery. You can track it. I hopped onto the website, and sure enough, I was watching the little Imperfect Foods van bounce around on the map. And pretty soon, my grocery order was delivered to my doorstep. I was so pumped. I opened it up. Inside were some amazing produce. I had meat, some poultry, and then also there was a whole pumpkin pie in my grocery order. I was so pumped. Really exciting stuff. But what I love about this is that, I've used some different recipe management, recipe online ordering things, subscriptions. And one of the things that always bugged me was I've got all these boxes and all of this cool packs and all of these metallic sort of reflective cool coating bags, and I don't know what to do with them. Are they recyclable? Where do they go? Imperfect Foods is awesome because they let you, on your next delivery, send all that stuff right back to them. They'll make use of it in the way that works for them, whether it's reusing or recycling, to make sure that that stuff doesn't have to go to waste. It was really cool to see. Right now, Imperfect Foods is offering our listeners 20% off your first 4 orders when you go to imperfectfoods.com and use the promo code iOS. Again, that's 20% off your first 4 orders. That's up to an $80 value at imperfectfoods.com when you use the promo code iOS. imperfectfoods.com, promo code iOS. Check them out. Imperfectfoods.com with the promo code iOS. All right, let's head back to the best ofs.
Well, to start with, let's give a little bit of background on what I ordered. So previously, I had the 2018 11-inch iPad Pro, which is a great device. I loved it. I even bought the Magic Keyboard, which came out last year, which fits on the older one. But I was debating, and I was very unsure. Do I get a bigger iPad? Do I not get a bigger iPad? Is it a good thing to do or a bad thing to do? And then they said that it's got this fancy new display. And so here it is on my desk. I'm just going to move my mouse out of the way here. And you'll have to excuse some of the boxes in the background. I'm reorganizing my office right now, but I can just peel this off. I love how they've added these tabs, by the way. It just makes life a little bit easier when it comes to getting into your Apple products. There's no more trying to finagle around with the plastics, shoving your nail in the back or anything there. Though I'm still having to rip it because I was doing this flat on a desk. But here we go. Moment of truth. Can I get the lid off of this box on air? Because otherwise it's going to just be very, very embarrassing. There we go. I did it. Yay. People. Do I get a round of applause for this?
You do.
Exciting. There we go. So I went with the 1 terabyte option because it's got that extra RAM in it. And I'm hoping, like I did with the 2018, that I'm going to be keeping this baby for a couple of years because look at this. Isn't this beautiful? I have not had one of these models. I've not held one of these, I don't think. I mean, I've played with it in the Apple Store, but it is not the same as, having one for a couple of hours to play with from home. So I'm just going to power that on a second, or try to. There we go. I have an Apple logo right here.
On this webcam in particular, on this camera in particular, it looks so gigantic because of the distortion.
It looks huge. Yeah. So just for scale, I have the old Siri remote here, and I'll just put that on there for comparison. And I'll just have a quick look in here. So I have the same 20-watt folding charger that you would get with a HomePod Mini, and is that a 1 meter cable? Come on, Apple, give me 2 meters. I'm always using 2 meters to charge. 2 meters is much better. Okay, bonjour iPad. I'm not sure how to speak that, so I'm not going to try. So I can just go through and set this up. Oh my gosh, it's so shiny. Oh, I absolutely love it. So this is shipped with 80% charge. I actually just set everything up manually, so I'm going to have to type in some passwords and so on in a minute
so
here.
You could switch back to me for a second while Rosemary takes care of that. So did you get the silver or the space gray model?
So I went with silver because the space gray there are these lines on the back of the iPad, which, I mean, it's very difficult to see on the 11-inch iPad, which I'm just holding up to the screen now if you just want to quickly switch back. So you can just about see, if you're watching, there's like a line right there. That's the antenna line. Okay. And this is present on Wi-Fi and cellular devices. And that blends in much better with the silver than it does with the space gray. With the space gray, it kind of stands out. And so I actually went with I went with the silver just because I like it to blend in. And also I like light, pretty colored devices. It sounds kind of silly, but pretty is important to me. So I wish that these came in the beautiful colors that the iMac does, just because it's kind of a shame. I understand why they don't. I mean, how much space are they having to take up in an Apple store with all of the same iMac? Just the color is different. It's not like they can just be like, okay, we'll just drop this configuration into this computer and done. They've got different color cables. They've got all of the accessories in matching colors, etc. So that is pretty scary. And I'm officially at the stage now where I can set up Face ID. So that's good fun. I've not connected this to
gigantic
my Mac
Face
yet.
ID.
Yeah, gigantic Face ID. And I have to do it in portrait mode, which is extra fun. So there we go. Oh, it sings at me. I did not realize that it did that. There we go. So let's just see if I can get this to do the same thing again. And one tip for people setting up Face ID, which I think some people sometimes struggle with it. Usually you have to, do this circle with your head. I like to do one circle to the right and one circle to the left. That, it just means that it's getting your face from slightly different angles just because the way you move your head is going to change. And I personally have had zero issues with Face ID doing that. And I've had some friends who were having occasional issues with Face ID. I said, hey, just do it again. But next time when you set it up, go right and then go left when you do the Face ID setup. And
that's
voila,
a great
it worked.
tip.
So my mom did that on her iPhone. She kept going, Face ID is not working. And I said, well, part of the problem is you're wearing a mask because this was before Mask Unlock came out. And so, that needed to be fixed. The other issue was, she'd moved the phone when setting it up instead of holding the phone still and moving her head. So there we go. I can officially say don't transfer apps and data. I forgot that I can use my phone to set up my iPad without transferring the data from my phone because I want to start this iPad from new. I mean, I've had my 2018 iPad since launch date 2018. So that's a pretty long time. I've accumulated a lot of apps on there that I don't use anymore. So I'm just setting this iPad up for brand new. So I'm sharing data with app developers. I will go with light mode for now. And oh my gosh, I can officially show people again. Look at this. Look at this. It's ready. It's got all these apps. I have my refreshed widgets and so on.
Now, one
great.
hopes we will get more screen to work with widgets in the next version of iOS.
Oh yeah, I'm crossing my fingers for June, Mikah. I am crossing my fingers for June because it's not that far away now. We're a couple of weeks to go until June 7th. So it's going to be good to see what we can do with our iPads then.
Folks, this is the part of the show where you get to ask questions of Rosemary Orchard related to Siri Shortcuts. So, Rosemary Orchard, tell us, what is the Shortcuts Corner request for today?
Well, the Shortcuts Corner request for today came from Steve on Twitter. Fortunately, he tagged me, so I got to see it. And Steve on Twitter asks, is there a Siri shortcut to find out how many times I wash my hands per day by taking data from my Apple Watch? Well, Steve, the good news is there is, and I'm going to show you how to build this, and then we're going to put a link in the show notes to the finished shortcut so you can just download this. Now, if you to start with, I need to actually press the button and share my iPhone so that people can see it if they're watching the video stream. So when you create a new shortcut, first thing you need to do is add an action. And if you tap into the app section, then scroll down, possibly, depending on how many apps you've got installed. Yeah, I've got a lot of apps here. And look for the health app. Then you'll see there are actually 4 actions here. So you can log a health sample, you can log a workout, you can get details of a health sample, or you can find your health samples. And it starts by finding all your health samples, and then it narrows it down a bit. So it looks for steps in the last 7 days. So the first thing we need to do is tap on steps. And this is not quite alphabetical order. So I'm just going to cheat and type hand, which gives us hand washing. And then start date, if you just tap the is in the last for this, then you can change that to is today. Now, if we run this, in my case, it says no samples found because I've developed a habit of actually taking off my Apple Watch and scrubbing like up to here when I really need to thoroughly wash my hands. It's possibly not great. I should start logging my hand washing instead with a shortcut, but we'll get back to that in a minute. So now we have our samples and we need to count these. And so then I will actually just tap OK there, and it comes back with 0. So now we just need to give ourselves the results. And there's a great action for this called show results. But if we just do this like this, then it tells me I've not got any health samples. That's okay. And it just says 0. And I don't know about you, Mikah, but that seems like a pretty, rubbish end of shortcut, you look at it and it's just like 0, great, or 10 or 100, whatever. But if we tap on this count, okay, and then we look down here at the bottom, in the top left of this, there's a little keyboard on a back button, and then you can actually go ahead and edit it. Now I'm going to use a little trick that I know here, which is if you tap and hold on the space bar, then you can move the cursor. This is much easier than tapping around. So now you can type something. You washed your hands, count, tap and hold on the space bar to move again, times today. Done. Okay, so now when I run my shortcut,
That's okay. You washed your hands 0 times today. Oops. Well, that's not true. I promise it's not. I've washed my hands many times today. But this is what happens when you take your hands off every time. Take your watch off every time. So now you can just go ahead and save that. I will not. I'll tap cancel. I'll just tap into the one that I created earlier. And here it is, ready to share. So I can just share that with some people. But instead, we'll put a link to that in the show notes for everybody, because this is a useful one. The count action is really useful for people who have the multiple things that they want to just get the number of. So, for example, if you've done 7 workouts today, I hope they were short. Please don't overdo it. But it's it's really nice to just know how many times you've done something. So there we go.
And then our last bit of Shortcuts Corner comes from Quadratic. I think this is a fantastic question, and I'm looking forward to hearing the response here. I have a general question about creating shortcuts. How do you think through your next steps when you are trying to use an app and a shortcut, but it doesn't appear in the apps list? This is often the point where I throw up my hands, and I'm just curious how an expert thinks through it. So inquiring minds, including my own, want to know, how do you do it?
Well, it really depends on what you're trying to accomplish, of course, because sometimes what you're trying to accomplish is straight up impossible. You're trying to do something that you would need a humongous server to do or something like that, and you want to do it on a plane in airplane mode with no internet connection. Well, it's kind of difficult. But there are plenty of different ways to get around problems. So if you're looking for an action and you think like being able to detect whether I'm in light or dark mode, that has to be a thing shortcuts can do, right? Wrong. Shortcuts can't do that. Okay. It can't detect whether or not you're in light mode or dark mode, whether or not the sun is up or down. But there is an app that can do that called Toolbox Pro. So I have several apps like Toolbox Pro and other shortcuts accessory apps, basically, in my arsenal. Toolbox Pro is one of the big ones. There is also, and I've just forgotten the name, so I'm just going to check what it is now. There is a specific HomeKit one, which I use all the time. I think it's called Homebot for shortcuts, which lets you do all sorts of things. I talked a little bit to Quadratic because fortunately he posted this in the chat, so I was able to actually chat with him. And in his particular case, he said that he was trying to do something with Spotify. And so the solution to that was he had to do the action enough times in the Spotify app, and eventually it would show up. That is one way to do things. Sometimes also going into the app and looking under the settings, you'll be able to add a shortcut from there. And then what you can do, and this is something I actually did myself the other day with an application called Text Case. I'm just going to see if I can find the shortcut. Yes, perfect. So I've got it right here. I will just show people. So there's an application called Text Case where it can format text in specific ways for you beyond what shortcuts can do by itself. And the way it adds actions is it creates a shortcut with that. But then if you tap on this little bubble here, you can copy that. And then if you go to something else, and you can use, actually, I will try doing that, the 3 fingers to paste. It's not going to let me do that now. So I'm just going to add an action. And I will just pop in this one from an app that I'm beta testing. If you tap on this, then you can paste above and below. And that's tapping on that icon over on the left. So once you've got one of those shortcuts, you can do that. But honestly, the best way to find these solutions is sometimes to work around it. If the podcast app doesn't support what you want, try looking at Overcast, Pocket Casts, Castro, Downcast. All of these other apps have different options. So sometimes the correct solution is to use a different app. It really depends. And of course, if you're trying to solve a problem and you can't solve it, you can always write into the show. You can contact us, email, Twitter, chat. All of those are great. And I collect them all. And even if we don't get to it in 1 week's show, we'll keep it for the next one. I know that for next week, I've got some sourdough cooking, Mikah. So we'll have to get back to that then.
Yes, we definitely will. Doug has written in, do you have any vaccination record app recommendations? In the US, we're not likely to get one from the government, but local music venues are now requiring proof of vaccination for entry. That's a good thing. So far, a picture of our CDC card that ties to our state ID is acceptable, but I would rather have some form of application, especially if I could pull it up from the iOS wallet. I've come across several here and am a Clear member, CLEAR, so that seems to be the front runner. And then they included a link to insider.com that has best vaccine passport apps. Yeah, there are some options out there, and you can always, I've scanned both sides of my ID as well as keeping it in the bag that I take with me everywhere. So I've got it in multiple forms. But as we're going to talk about on the show here, Rosemary and I, if you want to go with a personalized version, Rosemary and I are going to talk about an app called MakePass. With MakePass, you can create your own custom Apple Wallet card. And so I have put together my own custom Apple Wallet card here. And I've, of course, mosaiced out the QR code because it is a smart card QR code. So it actually has like basic health record information that in iOS 15 is actually something you can import into the health app. So I have my vaccine stuff digitally saved in the health app in one place. I've got my card front and back saved to my Dropbox and to my iCloud drive. And then I've got this, which is available in my wallet app, where I just made it on my own using MakePass. So would you like to tell us about MakePass?
Yeah, so MakePass does a whole bunch of things, and you were the one that introduced me to it, actually, Micah. I believe it was one of your app caps. And of course, I was tidying up my iPhone earlier, and I offloaded a whole bunch of apps, and there it is. There, it's just reinstalled. So you can go ahead and make a brand new pass. And as you make a pass, of course, there's a whole bunch of things that you can do. You can also select an icon as a file. You could set a barcode, including a barcode from a photo, which would allow you to pick a specific photo of, say, your vaccine card. And I would suggest that you probably want a generic card type rather than an event ticket or a boarding pass for this, because you're going to want it to stand out. And you won't want a relevant date or location for this, but you can add a whole bunch of information here as well so that everything shows up. And you can give it everything that you like. So as you go through and add, don't forget that as you type and you've added a field, then you can tap on that preview in the top right. And so if you want to say that it's a CDC one, then you could do that and set that up. But as you go through and set all the information that you might want or need, then you will hopefully actually end up with a great result of a readable, good-looking vaccine pass. And don't forget that the logo image is going to be a smaller image. It's going to be this barcode that you're going to want to set as that information as well. Don't forget, though, you can type all this information here as well. So, for example, first jab, we call them jabs over here. And so I don't remember when that was. So I'm just going to guess that it was, I don't know, the 9th of March. That's wrong, but there we go. So I can add first jab and then I can add second jab. And that was on the 31st of July. I remember that much. There we go. And so now I've got both of those dates right there, which is really useful. Or I could put them down here in the pass front fields if I prefer. So I'm just going to type hello and world in there. Oh, I can't spell world. There we go. I'm having a day there, Micah. And this potentially is a bit more useful. So have a play around with all of those different fields. Now you could potentially use a shortcut to pull up some images every single time. Micah, you talked about this last week, base64 encoding an image to put it in as a shortcut. So actually what I'm going to do,
nice.
I'm going to take a picture. I've got a really nice fancy keyboard here.
Whoa, that is a very cool keyboard.
I know. Look at those rainbows, right? As it's going.
Whoa.
Oh, man, I love it. And I'm using some really fancy switches so that they shouldn't be so loud when I type. So I've got a photo here. And if you want to base64 encode an image so that you can keep it in your shortcut, then what you need to do is you need to start with getting the picture, right? So you need to select your photo or photos, and then you'll need the base 64 action. Okay, and base 64 encode. And then when you've done that, so you select your image and then it encodes it. It might take a while, but that is your image. Wow, that is a lot of data. So what I would actually recommend doing before this, actually, I'm just going to change this to get a latest picture because I know it's the last picture I took. So I'll just pop that in here. And then I'm going to convert my image. Now, you might be thinking, Rose, you don't need to convert your image. It's fine. Well, if I convert my image, I can, first of all, turn off preserve metadata because people don't need to know exactly when and where I took this picture. And I can bring down the quality, which is going to reduce the file size. So now if I get the latest picture and then have a look at this, it's still long, but I promise you it's actually smaller. So I'm just going to add that to my clipboard. And then I'm going to always allow that. Perfect. Done. Now I can delete all of these actions. Everything's gone. Okay, so I've got an empty action. I get a text action. I paste in my base 64 encoded image. Wow, that's a big text block now, but that's okay. And then I look for that base 64 encode action again. And this time I tap on encode. I swap it to decode. And then you can do a couple of things. I would suggest, however, for this, what you're going to be looking for is the quick look action. And for those of you familiar with macOS, that's when you tap the space bar. You'll get quick look if you're in Finder, for example, and you're looking at images. My iPhone is a little stuck there. This is the problem with beta software. There we go. Quick look. Wonderful. I have a random Dropbox section in there, but I don't need that. Okay. So now this is my image. Okay. This text block right here is my image. So I don't have to, hunt for something in my photo library or whatever. No. It decodes this and then it's going to show it to me every single time. Look at that, Mikah. Done. I hit play and bam. That's it. It's showing right up on my screen. And so then what I can do is I'm going to save this as keyboard image because otherwise I'm going to get very confused later. If I pop into this little 3 dots here, then I could pin it in my menu bar and everything. I can add some shortcuts options to do that. But instead, I want the share sheet option. Cancel. Add to my home screen. And there we go. Now I can add this to my home screen. If I pop back to my home screen, look, right here, boom. I tap it, and there I have my image done.
Immediately shows it.
Yeah. It immediately shows it. Now, I recommend including that convert image option and bringing down the file size of your image because the bigger the image is, the longer it's going to take to decode it. And so that means it's going to take a longer time to, get it to show up. So the smaller the image is, the faster it will show. You will have to play around with the convert image option. I recommend not putting anything after it for a while and just playing around, drag the slider up and down and make sure that you can still read your glasses. Now hold your iPhone a meter away from you and make sure that you can still read your paths, okay? Because if you can't read it, then you're going to have a problem. If it's written in Dr. Scroll, then nobody's going to be able to read it, but make sure that you can read that image. Make sure somehow it's possible to read the image. Ideally, try out that OCR feature that you can use in images on iOS 15 when that comes out. See if that works. Or if you're in the public beta, then give that a try right now. But there we go. That's how you can base 64 encode and decode an image so that you can have an image a tap away on your home screen. So one of the first things that I had to check, and I've checked it several times again to reconfirm, this is not the Pro Max, this is the Pro. And it feels humongous to me. Bearing in mind, I was on the iPhone mini before. I actually had a 12 Pro Max. So theoretically, I know what the size is. But shuffling devices around in the family, there was a claim on the 12 Pro Max when I said that I was interested in getting a mini. So that happened. But the iPhone mini it doesn't seem screen size wise like it's much smaller. But wow, that does make a big difference when you're holding it. But I couldn't say no to these cameras. These cameras are so good. But I did, I started by picking it up going, wow, this thing's amazing. Could I frisbee it? And then I immediately went and got my MagSafe pop socket and stuck it on the back. This is just, I think this is the Galaxy Nebula. That's the name of it. Nebula pop socket from Pop Socket, and it's MagSafe. And you just pop it on. It sticks on there. It's very satisfying thunk, and it's not going anywhere. Just to be very clear, even on the the Pro. I checked it on the old Pro Max. I went back to the family member who claimed it at the weekend and said, I need to borrow your phone and stand next to your sofa for 10 minutes and shake. It didn't go anywhere with that either. Yeah, I was slightly amazed at how big this thing is. And I did use it as an opportunity. I only transferred using iCloud. I didn't do the direct device transfer. Because I knew I had to leave the house and I needed a working phone for that. And I didn't want to have to take a humongous battery pack with me along with 2 iPhones and an Apple Watch and an iPad mini when I left the house. It seemed a tad excessive to say the least. So I did the iCloud option because this way, when apps are downloading, you can tap and hold on one and say prioritize this. So for the apps that I use the most frequently, which are the ones on my home screen, I just did the tap and hold and prioritize those. I also used it as an opportunity to switch my mail client to the mail app from Apple because it seemed like a good opportunity to do that. But yeah, it was... setup for me, aside from the Apple Watch issue, was relatively painless. And a friend of mine just pinged me and noted that even if the transfer of the watch works, because it did for him, it still turns off the watch unlock. So everybody is facing that issue. But as ScooterX has posted in the IRC, Apple's promised to fix this. I'm hoping that it's a relatively easy fix because that would be really good to have that back. It's very frustrating right now. My passcode is only 6 characters, but it feels too long, and I actually would like to set it to a longer passcode for security. But obviously, I'm not willing to do that right now when I have to type it in 10, 15 times in the supermarket, even though technically I don't have to wear a mask, but I do. But yeah, no, I'm really impressed with it. It feels like a very nice device, and the blue in particular is a lovely shade of blue. And you can, depending on what light it's in, it really does pick up purples, which is really lovely. And especially if you pop it next to something that is purple. And for people who aren't aware, purple is my favorite color. So I frequently have other purple things around. So it does pick up that color very nicely. And especially in the wisteria case, it's good. I'm genuinely impressed. And the screen, I have to say, captured me more than I was expecting. I do have the 12.9-inch iPad Pro with the ProMotion display. That's gorgeous, but I don't know, maybe because I didn't have a 12.9-inch device before, but I've never really gone, wow, the screen really feels amazing. Maybe it's because I do hold my phones, closer to me most of the time, whereas my iPad Pro is usually on my lap or at a bit of a distance. But wow, yeah, the screen is gorgeous. And it really, it somehow feels a little bit faster just from the screen perspective, which I know is just my mind playing tricks on me rather than anything else. So yeah. It's
the subtlety the subtlety of that variable refresh rate for folks who are wondering what we're talking about here. There's the ProMotion technology in the iPhone in particular is a refresh rate that can ramp up or ramp down depending on what you're doing. And so often with scrolling, the screen is going to be at 120 hertz refresh rate. So everything looks, instead of there being a kind of almost a motion blur that takes place where you see some of the stuff on screen but not other things, so as you're scrolling, things kind of blur away. With 120 hertz, it's like your eyes got an upgrade in the sense that you can sort of see everything moving up and down on the screen as you are looking at it. So it's a really fascinating thing, and it's kind of hard to sort of quantify without actually looking at it yourself. But I noticed it a little bit more. I think I've gotten used to it because of the iPad Pro to a certain extent, but having it on the phone and sort of recalibrating everything brought that out again. I know that people really love, especially sort of gearheads, really love the 120 hertz refresh rate. It hasn't been life-changing or anything like that, but I do find it an interesting upgrade that looks cool. But with that, I think the opposite understanding. It goes up to 120 hertz, but it can also drop down to very slow refresh rates depending on what's on screen. And by doing that, it improves upon the battery life. And these phones, the iPhone 13, the iPhone 13 Pro, all got a huge battery life upgrade that I think makes all the difference. The people are really, if they are getting the newest phone, are really going to dig. Where the iPhone 12, I was able to, use it all day and not have concern about battery. This just takes that to the next level. So when I'm doing things that are outside of the norm, maybe I'm doing more going to San Francisco or something, so I'm using navigation more, then with this newer phone, at the end of the day, I don't have that concern that I might be running out of battery and need to pop on or pop in a charger. So I think battery life is going to come out being one of the favorite features of these devices, just because of the improvements there. I'm curious, Rosemary, about your experiences with the camera so far. I know I've had fun taking some macro photos.
Yeah, so I've not really gone anywhere to take great pictures yet. Something I'm actually hoping that I'm going to be able to have an opportunity to do this Friday. But I have been messing around, taking some pictures. I did some macro photos of the material of my sofa and things like that, and I really enjoyed that. What I'm most enjoying though is the new telephoto, the 3x telephoto, because that was something I definitely missed on the Mini. That telephoto lens, the Mini for people. This is the 12 Mini, not the 13 Mini. The stuff doesn't have a telephoto lens. It's only got the normal and wide angle lenses. And the new iPhone Mini apparently has very good battery life, which is my other complaint. That one's been fixed, but the camera has not. So they can't fit an extra lens in there. But I'm really liking it, especially the image stabilization. The fact that every single lens has optical image stabilization now, that for me is a big thing, because I'm not a great photographer. I do love taking pictures and so on, but even though I've got a very nice point and shoot with, proper optical zoom and everything on it, it's I think it's a Canon something or other with 30 times optical zoom or something like that. At least that's what I remember it saying. I've got that, but I'm rarely going to take that and use it to take pictures, just because I always have my iPhone with me and I don't know when I'm going to want to take pictures.
It's time to talk about the iPad Mini. I don't know about you, Rosemary Orchard, but I am loving this new iPad Mini. I think it is the perfect size. It has a gorgeous little screen. It's my little buddy that I could carry around with me everywhere, because I do have monster hands. And so it's very nice to have this little thing along with me. I got it in, I think it's just called Space Gray still, but with this really vibrant orange case. And my shirt has some orange on it to match with to coordinate at least with my iPad Mini. This is a beautiful little consumption device that also has some handy, creation features as well. So it's a little productivity tool, and I have been enjoying using it just every single day as the little take-along device that does it all. So tell me about your initial thoughts with the new iPad Mini and kind of how you're feeling about it.
Well, I had the iPad Mini 5, which is right here. It's rose gold. The Apple Pencil stuck to the iPad Mini behind it, because if I turn this around, you'll see that the new iPad Mini is definitely smaller, at least height-wise. Width-wise, in the case, in the Folio case, this is Apple's Folio case for the new iPad Mini, it's about the same. And obviously, depth-wise, this is now a little bit thicker. But I picked it up and I immediately went, oh yeah, this is a little easier to hold. I'll just pop that iPad Mini down instead of dropping it off on the floor, because my grandmother is after that. She's got her eye on it. But I immediately, I opened it up and gosh, this is gorgeous. This is a lovely device. And the screen, again, feels really nice. I know some people are saying that they can see the difference between this and the other, the 12.9-inch iPad Pro, the 11-inch iPad Pro. But equally, I'm holding this a little bit closer to me than, say, a bigger iPad, just because it's lighter, so it's easier to hold higher. And I'm enjoying it. So I usually take my iPad Mini with me when I go places. So this time I've opted for the cellular model. And Mikah, I'm not boring like you. I've gone with, oh wait, I got it in purple. And I've got the iPad Mini here from the 12 Mini, because I wanted to show people the purple contrast. Because unfortunately, the iPad Mini purple, as people can see here, it's kind of like gray that once saw purple and is longing, but its memory is quite faulty, so it's not very good at picking it up or remembering what it's like. And you see it a little better perhaps when I do a bezel comparison. One of those is much more purple than the other, but the case, Mikah, they nailed the case. The English lavender case is absolutely gorgeous. I love this so much because, first of all, it's a folio case, so it wraps all around the device and it pops off incredibly easily. Because, you know, I often have the iPad like this, but I can also just, you know, flip it around like this, use my Apple Pencil, take some notes, and it's great. This Apple Pencil, I did not buy a new Apple Pencil. I stole this from my 12.9-inch iPad Pro. And then at the weekend, I was there and I was writing something up on my iPad mini. I was using Notability, and I went, hang on a minute. I need a bit more space. Went over to my 12.9-inch iPad Pro, picked up the Apple Pencil from the mini, stuck it on top of the iPad Pro, picked it up, and then just wrote on the iPad Pro. That was it. You know, it's incredibly easy to swap this between devices. It's not like the previous one where you pop off the top and you stick it in the bottom of the device and you wait for a moment for it to connect. Or if it's not charged, you wait half an hour and forget what you were going to do with your life or anything and lose the cap in the meantime. There's none of that. This just, it sticks on. And it magnetizes nicely. And for people who are curious about attention to detail, I'm going to see if I can hold this in the right place. You can't really see it, but the pencil does just fit nicely between the antenna bands on the cellular one, which is great because the SIM card slot is right down here underneath where you can magnetize the Apple Pencil to. But yeah, this is good. So I upgraded to cellular this time because I had Wi-Fi before. And, you know, during the pandemic, that was fine. But before the pandemic, I did have a couple of little difficulties because I was having to tether to my phone and it would drop out every once in a while and so on. And I found out that the new deal that I will be on as of, I think, next week with the phone company, I can also add the iPad to it, and I'll be able to share data between the two devices if I need to. So I can get a low data plan. And so when I found that out, it was a case of cellular is happening because isn't this gorgeous? I have to say, Mikah, I've mostly used this for playing games. Mini Metro and Mini Motorways have made a bit of a comeback over the weekend for me. And I was all in on that because it is a really nice device to be able to play that with. It charges quickly because that USB-C, and you can just plug it into any USB-C charger and it'll draw as much power as it's able to, which is great. What about you? Do you wish it had come in green? Are you longing for a green iPad mini?
So the reason I went with the space gray model was because I was gonna, as I said, sort of step out, show it off with that really bright orange case. But yeah, mostly it was me sort of pouting about the fact that it didn't come in green because the iPad Air did come in green, and so I was hoping that the new iPad Mini would as well. Unfortunately, no. But as Anthony has pointed out in the iOS Today Discord chat, says he feels like this would be great for cloud gaming. I 1,000% agree. This is the perfect little device for that. And you talked about how you were also playing games on it. It's just big enough. And so you can put it somewhere, it could sit on your lap, it could sit on a table, it could sit wherever you needed it to. The other day I was using it. I have an old Kindle, a Kindle Voyage. And most of the time, I've said before, most of the time I listen to audiobooks, but occasionally there will be a book that comes out before it's an audiobook and it's enough of something that I want to consume that I will go ahead and grab it on the Kindle store and read it. And so I was reading through a book, and most of the time I use my Kindle for that. However, I wanted to eat, and so the Kindle, you've got to press the buttons on the side or the fake buttons on the side to move the pages along. And so I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll take my little iPad mini, I'll roll the case back so I can set it up, and I will open up the Kindle app and have it in landscape mode. And then I will just be able to swipe really easily to change, to go forward with pages. And so it was A very nice little experience for me for doing that as well. I think this is a great device for, sometimes you're like, I want to show you this video, and everybody kind of huddles around a tiny little phone. This is the perfect size to where it's still handy, still convenient to hold in your hands, but you can show people things. You'll notice I've got the Apple Pencil stuck to the side of this. I don't always carry it on there because I do like using the Apple Pencil on the bigger screens. But what is handy is the Quick Notes feature within iPad OS 15 that lets you quickly take notes on your iPad and be able to use those for whatever you happen to want to use them for. So you swipe from the bottom right corner of the screen and a little note pops up. You can then use there are different pencils or pens that you can use that are common in the Notes app, but there's another one which is really cool, and it is basically it automatically turns your writing into actual text. So as you're writing, it goes ahead and translates that into text that can then be stored in the app. I was curious about for you was in pulling this one out and putting it on and comparing it to the watch that you had. Did you notice the difference in screen? And I'll quickly go ahead.
I was just going to say, I really did notice the difference in screen size. Like as I powered it up to set everything up yesterday, I immediately went, oh yeah, like this is a bigger one. I'm going to see if I can demo it like on the wrist. I've got 2 Apple Watches on here now. So this one, the purple one, the lower one is my new one, and this one is the older one. It's very difficult to tell, but when you've got something that takes up the whole screen, wow, you immediately notice that difference.
Something like this contour watch face here. There, let's get that in. Ooh, there we go. Bring it over. And yeah, so this contour watch face, it wraps around the edges of the screen in order to show you that new screen size. I have to say, for me, I didn't notice much of a difference in the screen size between the two, outside of one of the things that I have to do regularly, which is typing in my passcode. Those numbers are a lot bigger there. Oh, yeah. One of the other things here that a lot of people don't like is, look where that notification indicator is. It's over to the side. It's not centered, which is a little odd. It's, not a huge deal, but it is different. That said, I think, of course, green
that's
on
just
green
the
on
contour
green
face
on
that it does that on, to be clear. The other faces I've been using, like the California dial and stuff, those are all centered.
Yeah. So
but the contour face definitely has, that offset so that you can fully see the 12. They could just push the 12 down a little bit or made like a little rounding on the 2 or something.
I think that would have been cool.
You could have done some kerning there.
Yeah, exactly. So yes, so the folks are aware. I think that's the thing, is that everywhere else we're used to that indicator being square in the center. For this face, if you choose to go with it, that might be the one sort of thing you give up on. I love this green on green look. So I've got the, I can't remember what they call this. I think they call this color moss, which is funny because everything else is sequoia green. The Apple Watch itself, you probably can't tell, but I did get the green Apple Watch. It is a very subtle green. You can see kind of the highlights catching there to see that green color. But most of the time when people see this watch on your wrist, it's going to look kind of, it's grayish, blackish with just this subtle hint of green, which makes me happy, of course. But for folks, because one of the things that they did a little strangely with this series was the color selection is a bit off. There's no just sort of plain color you can go with that folks have been used to in the past. I got to tell you, on here, you can really see the green, but me looking at it in real life with my eyes, it is not as pronounced as it is. So I kind of wish I had Twit camera eyes day to day because it would look more green to me. But yeah, this new leather link loop came with the Apple Watch. I was still able to get it on day one with that. And I've really been enjoying it. I'm curious, do you have a cellular version or do you use the Wi-Fi version?
Yeah, so this is the first time I've got a cellular version. I'm thinking that may or may not affect the battery life. So I signed up with that this morning, and that was an interesting process, not helped by the fact that the provider here in the UK apparently has coded their webpage so that it doesn't look like you need to select anything. And so I'm there just tapping at random points on the page until I finally discovered the magic invisible tap point to enable selecting a cellular connection. That was fun. And I think actually this might be the better side to see it on. I managed to get the Starlight one. And as you said, like there are no standard color options in the aluminium one. If you go for the stainless steel, then there are silver and black options. But other than that, I've got Starlight, which is, kind of a champagne-ish color. It's mostly silver, but every so often it has a slight touch of gold. It's a nice color. It's still a very neutral color, which I think is a good thing, because one of the reasons why I've never gone with the red Apple Watch before is because a lot of my clothes are purple. I love purple, and it's definitely interesting to try and match everything up there with your outfits. If you've got an Apple Watch that's the wrong color, which is why I always went with silver. I have a lot of silver jewelry. I usually wear silver or white gold, so for me that makes sense. But Starlight is a compatible one because I do have some bits of gold, and it was always like the one thing that doesn't match and line up, and now it kind of does and doesn't at the same time. I'm good with that.
Yeah, and I think that is part of the reason why these colors are more subtle, is that you want to be able to wear your watch with everything. And if you did end up limiting, or at least Apple wants you to be able to wear your watch with everything. And if you had these very bright poppy colors, it might be less likely that you wear it with everything. Because I feel comfortable wearing this green as a subtle hint. It's sort of, it's micro peacocking. It's just a light touch of the peacock feather as opposed to really sticking out there.
Kahoot is a pretty neat app. It lets you do quizzes with your friends. I picked the category last time. So Rosemary, why don't you launch Kahoot on your iPad and then you pick the category that you want for this game.
Right. Well, a little tip that I'm going to give people, because I mentioned earlier that my face was on top of Mikah's. If you tap and hold on the person who's floating on your screen when you're in a FaceTime video call and you are trying to move things around or type or something, you can just pick that up and drag that. It will not stay in the middle. It's going to snap to a corner, but it works pretty well for that. So I have tapped on the option. I'm going to create. Oh, I don't want to create a Kahoot. No, I want to.
I would choose Discover. I think.
Yeah. Give me
weird. Nothing's showing up for you.
About chocolate. There we go. This seems like I may have an unfair advantage, but I will pick something. I'll pick something relatively short if I can. 20 questions, 15 questions. I think 7, which was the one I saw earlier, is the shortest. Okay, let's just do this chocolate quiz by Kathleen. And so if I start share play, then I can just, it's throwing an error because I'm not logged in, Mikah. Maybe you want to pick one and start.
Yeah, I'll find the quiz.
Because you don't need to be logged in to all of these for them necessarily to work, but you do need to have the app downloaded. And if you don't have the app downloaded, then it's going to prompt you to go ahead and download that app when somebody tries to share the content with you and you tap on the open option, which is quite nice. So there we go.
All right. So this is the quiz. You choose your name. I'm going to just stick with my typical name of Mikah Sargent, and we'll wait for Rosemary to join as well with her name. And then once that person joins or people join, I don't know why it does that. There's something to know. For some reason, it shows the person who starts it. It seems to make it as if there are 2 versions of that person. There is only just the one. All right, here we go.
All right. Let's see. Can win up to 1,000 points.
The name of the tree chocolate comes from. All right, that's an easy one.
Mm-hmm.
And
now there are really good sound effects with this, but we're not going to be able to share them because of the way that we're sharing the content again, which is a little bit of a shame. I'm going to make sure you're in the top right, Mikah, because
I have no clue.
Darn it. It is 20 degrees
that was a total
north of
guess.
the equator and south of the equator.
Who knew?
Congratulations.
Oh, we should read the questions. Cocoa pods are harvested by hand and split to remove what?
Beans. The beans is the answer, Mikah.
Oh, yes, it's the beans. What was I thinking? It's hard to do a show and do this at the same time.
Oh, I know.
All right, the next question. The fermented beans are sent to chocolate processing plants to be ground into what? I believe it's
cocoa.
Oh, I thought it was cocoa butter.
Liqueur.
Oh, I guess that makes sense. It's fermented.
Yeah.
And then the next one, white chocolate is made from what? White chocolate is not chocolate.
No, I think it's the first one.
I think it's just cocoa butter.
No, it's cocoa butter, sugar, and I'm not sure how to pronounce the last word.
Lecithin? I am doing poorly. Milk chocolate is made from what?
Oh, darn it. Yeah, I got
you should
it wrong.
always choose the longest answer in these quizzes.
Apparently. Dark chocolate does not contain what ingredient? I'm going to guess cocoa butter.
I'm going to guess milk.
Oh, no, it's milk. It does contain milk.
Well, it depends on the percentage of the...
Yeah, but 100% you're not going to eat. But hey, I still managed to win, so I feel vindicated after yesterday, Mikah.
Yesterday, Rose and I did a Star Wars one. I didn't realize I was much of a Star Wars nerd as I was because I did quite well on that. But if you had 3, 4, 5 people,
C-3PO.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I did a little impression of C-3PO. So depending on how many people you have, of course, you'd have first, second, and third place, and then maybe more. But your whole family could play this game, and that's, I think, a lot of fun. This also has not just quizzes for fun. It also, learning can be fun, kids. It also has quizzes for learning. It's not just complete and utter fun. Oh, there are some Merriam-Webster publishers. Let me see. It's a Merriam-Webster publisher on here. And so you can do things like synonyms, summer fruits, baby animals, types of shoes. So this is Kahoot, which is available on the App Store to download. I think this one is a lot of fun. The goodness that is SharePlay. I can't tell you how awesome it is to be able to see the reactions of friends and family while you're playing a game or watching a show. And so it was a really fun episode to put together and get to see some of the different apps that are out there. And they continue to add more all the time. Disney Plus was just added. That is the end of this episode of iOS Today, our Best Ofs episode. I want to thank you so much for the time you've spent this year watching the show or listening to the show. It means the world to us, the absolute world to us. And we're so thankful that you tune in to see Rosemary Orchard and I talk about these gadgets and gizmos and how to make the most of those devices. It's awesome to get to do this every week for you. And I look forward to starting it up again in the new year. We record this show live on Tuesdays at 9 a.m. Pacific. So you can tune in at that time if you want to watch us live at twit.tv/live. But the best way to get the show is twit.tv/iOS, where you can subscribe to the show in audio and video formats. You just go to twit.tv/iOS, you click subscribe to audio, subscribe to video, and choose your provider of choice from there. Very simple to do. Many of you are probably already subscribed and know how easy it is. I want to also mention Club Twit. Without Club Twit, things would have been dire. And so this year, I'm so thankful to our Club Twit listeners at twit.tv/Club Twit. You can learn more about that. $7 a month. You get every single one of Twit's shows ad-free. You get access to the Twit Plus bonus feed that has content you won't find anywhere else. It's, behind the scenes, outtakes, that kind of thing. Lots of good stuff. And you get access to the Club Twit server. It's a Discord server. And it's a great place to chat with your fellow Club Twit members, but also those of us here at Twit. Rosemary is very active in the Club Twit Discord. I'm sure many of you know. It's where we get some of our best questions. So check that out. Again, we will be back very soon and can't wait to hang out with you. Once again, answer your questions and give you all sorts of tips and tricks. Thank you for tuning in to iOS Today, and I will see you soon along with Rosemary Orchard. Goodbye.